Here are some of the other predictions for the Razorbacks. The FPI has them at 6.5 and 5.5. Athlon has them at 8-4. Remember, this is a team that went 8-4 last year. The over/under is at 6.5. Feels a little bit disrespectful at 6.5. My guess would have been 7.5. I think this team is more like a 7-5, 8-4 type team. I would be very surprised if they went 6-6. Although they do play both Cincinnati and BYU in the non-conference, so it's a pretty tough schedule. Their draw against the East is not quite as bad. But yeah, this is a team that I think a lot of people are hyping them up. They do lose a lot from last year. They lose some key players from last year's team. KJ Jefferson coming back at quarterback is obviously going to be big. And then they did add some key pieces in the transfer portal. So I expect Arkansas to be about where they were last year. And I think just the fact that Sam Pittman has already proved that he can kind of get this thing turned around with what they were able to do. If you buy into him, you believe in him, then I think you have to expect Arkansas to do better than 6-6. Would be very surprised if they went 6-6. But you never know. You never know. Maybe last year was a bit of a fluke. Let's get into the predictions here, and this is the schedule. I just talked about Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a lot of people look at all those great players they lost from last year and think they're going to drop off. But if you look into this roster for Cincinnati, they've actually got a good bit of talent coming back, a good bit of production coming back. Yeah, they're going to miss those guys that went on to the NFL. But this will still be a good team. Might even be the best group of 5 team. Maybe back to a New Year's Six Bowl potentially this year. But Arkansas is playing at home, and I think they still are the better team. I think Cincinnati going to be missing some of those guys, and because of that, they're not quite able to pull this one off. But I do expect a close game. I don't think Arkansas will run away with it. Give me the Razorbacks, though, at home, and they get the win there over Cincinnati. South Carolina is coming up next. They'll play them on September the 10th. Now, this will be a great game. South Carolina is going to be a good team. They finished strong last year. They've got a decent amount of production coming back this year, and, of course, bringing in Spencer Rattler at quarterback. We'll see how that plays out. But I think the ingredients are there for South Carolina to really have a special year this year. Maybe not a playoff season or anything like that, but to really get it kind of turned around this year. They've got some key pieces coming back. But Arkansas, the ingredients are there for them as well. And it starts, again, with KJ Jefferson and some of these other key players that did come back and come in through the transfer portal. They're playing at home. It's hard to go against Arkansas at home in this game. So I'm going to say they win this one. And then I do also, of course, have them beating Missouri State. So I've got the Razorbacks starting the season off 3-0. They play Texas A&M after that. This is going to be a great game, going to be a big one. I think Texas A&M, it's really a revenge game for them after losing to Arkansas last year. And that was kind of the game where Texas A&M's season kind of started to go downhill, and it was really the game that showed us that Arkansas had emerged. This was a good team, and I think they proved that last year. I think it'll be a great game this year, but that revenge factor might be just enough for me to lean this one in favor of Texas A&M. So I'm going to pick the Aggies, but definitely a game that Arkansas could win. That's really a coin flip game for me. Alabama coming up next. A lot of people think that maybe Arkansas is going to knock off Alabama. They came pretty close last year. They're at home this year. That makes sense, but I just think this Alabama team is going to be too good. They will be focused in on this one. I just don't see it happening. I think Alabama, it's going to be a really, really good team this year on both sides of the ball. Just too much talent. I'm going to go with the Tide. Maybe Arkansas can keep it close, but I don't see them pulling off the upset. After that, they'll play Mississippi State on the road. This should be a good one here. Mississippi State's a veteran team. A lot of production coming back for them. It is on the road, and it's right after playing Alabama. We have seen over the years teams go and lose to Alabama, and then they lose the next week. It's just you get beat up, and I think that may be what happens here, especially after playing Texas A&M and Alabama back-to-back. That makes it really tough, and so I'm going to say they lose this one on the road at Mississippi State. 3 losses in a row. So, yeah, good start, but then a little rough stretch there. BYU coming up next on the road. This is a hard one to predict. This is one that I've struggled with because you're going on the road to BYU, a veteran team, a lot of guys coming back. But if they lose 3 games in a row, I just don't see them losing 4 in a row. Because of that, I'm going to go with Arkansas. maybe we could flip some of this around. Maybe they beat Mississippi State and lose to BYU. Again, it's really just all about that record prediction. Doesn't, I'm not as focused on each individual game. I know a lot of times in the comments that's what you guys focus on, but it's all about the record. I make my record prediction, and then I move games around to get the record for each team that I want. But I'm going to say that they lose 3 in a row, bounce back, and beat BYU. Then they'll go on the road to face Auburn. Tough place to play, and just look at that stretch. Texas A&M, Alabama, at Mississippi State, at BYU, at Auburn. That's 4 out of 5 games away from home. That can wear a team down. They do get a bye week before playing Auburn, so that makes me think that they'll have a real good shot in this game. But again, when it came down to my predictions and I kind of moved games around, I needed a win for Auburn. I needed a loss for Arkansas to get my records, and I did pick Auburn to win this game. But that would be an upset. That would be a pretty big upset. So again, you could maybe flip BYU and Auburn, but that would really surprise me if they lost 4 games in a row. I think that's unlikely. So maybe this makes a little bit more sense, but we'll see how it plays out. They play Liberty after that. I don't expect Liberty to be quite as good without Malik Willis. They'll probably have a good offense, but Arkansas should be able to pull away late, get a win here over Liberty, and then they'll play LSU at home, a very talented LSU team. A team that I think some people are sleeping on just a little bit. They've got talent. I'm telling you, it's going to be this will be a great game, and it's one of those coin flip type games. One of those where I'm just going to go with the home field advantage, and because of that, we pick Arkansas here to beat LSU. And again, you can move these games around. That's fine. I'm not caught up in each individual game. Now there are some games where I'm like, I really think this team is going to win this game or lose this game, but there are a lot of coin flip games like Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Auburn, BYU, LSU. So however it falls, it's all about that record. You could maybe say they beat Auburn and then lose to LSU. That could happen as well. They'll play Ole Miss after that. Really explosive offense. Can Arkansas's defense slow them down? I don't know. I think it'll be a shootout, though. I think Arkansas will score points in this one. And again, home field advantage. Maybe that makes the difference. I'm going to say that Arkansas is able to beat Ole Miss at home. They had a great game last year, another great game this year. Razorbacks, though, will take it in a very, very close one, improve to 7-4. And then they'll close things out with Missouri. Not real high on Missouri this year. They'll be a decent team. I think they'll be a team that will struggle to get to a bowl game, though. Honestly, they're kind of right on that line. It's on the road. I've got the 26th here, but I think they actually play on the 25th on the Friday after Thanksgiving. For whatever reason, the schedule, when it first comes out, always has it on the 26th, but I'm pretty sure they play on the 25th. Regardless of when they play that game, I think it will be a game that Arkansas wins. I think they beat Missouri. They don't really struggle much, honestly. I think they'll win that one pretty easily. And they finish off with 4 wins in a row, finish off 8-4. Again, you can move games around. Let's say they beat Auburn, they lose to LSU, or they lose to Ole Miss, however you want to do it. At the end of the day, I do think the record for Arkansas in 2022 will be 8-4.